On today's bumper 3-hour edition, we wind the clock back to 2016 and head to Alice Springs in the heart of Australia's Outback, as we take a look back on the drama and spectacle that was the 41st Tatts Finke Desert Race. Then we wind the clock forward to current day and head to far north Queensland and to Springmount Raceway for the latest instalment of the nitro-burning all-out quarter-mile warfare that is the Aeroflow Outlaw Nitro Funny Cars. From one extreme to another, we continue our retro rewind to 2018 and look back on the inaugural season of Speedweek C-Series, powered by Gran Turismo Sport and PlayStation 4. After conquering Mount Panorama, the pro gamers and pro drivers now battle one another at Japan's Suzuka Circuit for round 2. And then we wrap up our retro rewind at Sydney Motorsport Park as the creme de la creme of drifting's finest in the Asia-Pacific region do battle for round 3 of the 2014 Formula Drift Asia. This is Speedweek.
To become king, one must ascend to the throne. Each year the desert crowns its new king, one who has conquered the elements and survived to tell the tale. The king's fate is decided by a battle that has taken place annually for 40 years. And at the end, one shall stand, and the others shall fall. It is a war of endurance, of determination and courage. It is man and machine versus nature, and it takes place in one of the most arid and unforgiving environments on all of planet Earth, Australia's Red Centre. Those wanting to be king will have to conquer extreme physical and mental challenges. Challenges on terrain so treacherous and in heat so blistering, only the strongest will survive. Over 2 grueling days and 460 kilometres, they will do battle with the elements and each other to see who will become king of the desert. And there can be only one. This is the Australian Off-Road Championship and the running of the 41st Tatts Finke Desert Race. Since 1976, the Tatts Finke Desert Race has been the jewel in the crown of Australian off-road racing. Originally known as There and Back, this year sees the 41st running of Australia's greatest desert race. Hundreds of competitors from around the nation and the world will tackle a unique 2-leg enduro. Beginning in Alice Springs, they race into the red unknown of Australia's Outback, heading deep into the Finke Desert. Their destination, a small Aboriginal community called Apatula. Stopping overnight, the race then continues back to Alice Springs, where at the conclusion of 2 epic days, a king will be crowned. Over 8,000 spectators have flocked to the event, all wanting to get up close and personal with these impressively engineered machines. Combining his love of off-road racing and music, iconic Aussie rocker Ian Moss has also returned to his hometown to take in the equally iconic race and entertain the crowd. The list of immortals who take the Finke crown is an anthology of the greatest off-road racers to ever compete in the sport. Shannon Wrench has conquered the last 2 Finke Desert races with his father Ian navigating, while Hayden Bentley, Brad Gallard, Greg Gartner and David Fellows have all triumphed in the cars and buggies category. Those who converge here to take on the harshest conditions Mother Nature has to offer know that it will take true grit to conquer her.
This is our 4th year competing, our Extreme 4-Drive Triton. First 2 years only made 50 kilometres down the track. We had suspension failure. Last year was a great year for us. We got to the halfway point, we made it down to Finke. It was a huge effort for us and our team and our newly built car. And yeah, so this year we're hoping to make it all the way home again. Finke is a tough race. It's very mentally challenging and hard on the vehicles and the crew. You can't hit it as hard as you'd like because it will bite you and you'll come unstuck. So you got to keep a very level head, but at the same time be able to push when you can safely.
Well, I think this year's a bit easier than last year. Last year was very dusty, so we sort of a bit handicapped last year. But hopefully this year we sort of a bit better prologue and get stuck in a bit earlier.
The track changes every year. It's a very difficult track, very technical track. I think the main thing is that unless you get the car home, you've got no chance. So really it's a matter of maintaining the highest possible running speed you can, but maintain the car in running order so it gets home.
Last year we put a lot of effort in to get our class championship. We worked hard as a team to get that, and to come into this year we're running the 401 plate is a good honour, and I know there's a lot of trucks out there that want to get that plate back and get the 401 themselves.
The 41st Tatts Finke Desert Race would begin with the running of the prologue, a qualifying time trial where each team is given an opportunity to take on the clock and test the limits. Contested on an 8.3 kilometre course, the fastest times recorded would determine the starting order for day one of the Desert Classic, with the quickest team starting first. A successful prologue run is one of the most integral factors for becoming king of the desert, as the pole sitter enjoys the advantage of clean air and vision in an unforgiving environment where extreme dust and obstacles are everywhere. After taking pole in last year's Finke Desert Race, Jack Rhodes was dominating once again in the car and buggy category, putting in the fastest time overall to take back-to-back prologues. It would be the third time Rhodes has achieved this feat, the first being in 2012. Only 4 seconds behind reigning King of the Desert Shannon Wrench would record the second fastest time and start the race to Finke just behind Rhodes. After taking the crown in 2014 and 2015, Wrench is setting his sights on a record three-peat. Rounding out the prologue podium was West Aussie Bo Robinson. Trying his hand at extreme two-wheel drive, 2016 Dakar winner Toby Price could only manage to slip into 18th place. A suspected suspension failure caused him to roll the Geyser Brothers trophy truck yesterday, leaving the 4-time Finke bike champion with a steep climb ahead. Back in extreme four-wheel drive, Clayton Chapman put in a titanic effort to clinch class honours, finishing 11th outright, faster than the majority of the pro field. Also firing a warning shot to their heavy hitters was Cody Crocker, who would take class honours in the Superlights, blitzing more than 60 other teams, many of whom are in the pro and extreme two-wheel drive classes. Overall, top 10 results has Rhodes, Wrench and Robinson on top, with the remaining positions filled by Mark Burrows, Glenn Owen, Greg Gartner, Aaron Havey, Billy Geddes, Matthew Kittle and Brad Gallard. With the prologue in the books, the scene would now be set for day one of the 41st running of the Tatts Finke Desert Race. With the prologue setting the starting order for the 41st Tatts Finke Desert Race, the teams would assemble at dawn on day one, ready to face the red gauntlet that awaits. Day one is a 230 kilometre long burn from Alice Springs to Finke, deep in the heart of the Aussie Outback. Passing through 5 unique checkpoints, the cars and buggies would be first to tackle the Finke, followed later in the day by the bikes and quads. Starting just after 7 a.m, the top 10 would launch in 1-minute intervals, with the remaining competitors flagged through every 30 seconds. The trek to Finke is an uncompromising test of physical and mental toughness, requiring extreme concentration and lightning fast reflexes. Having secured pole position following yesterday's prologue, Jack Rhodes would again kick off Australia's greatest desert race in his pro buggy, heading south into the unknown. Defending champ Shannon Wrench would launch next, given his second place in the prologue, beginning his pursuit of Rhodes into the rugged Outback. One minute later, Bo Robinson in the first of the Extreme two-wheel drive trucks. Also from Extreme two-wheel drive, Greg Gartner was fifth to begin his Finke campaign, followed closely by the pro buggy of Aaron Havey. Rounding out the top 10, Brad Gallard would begin 9 minutes after pole sitter Jack Rhodes, punching his trophy truck into gear and out of the Alice. With the 41st Tatts Finke Desert Race underway, it was Greg Hicks who would be bitten by Mother Nature first, losing control of his Jimco Pro buggy some 30 kilometres in and making an unscheduled visit to a spectator campsite. An Alice Springs local, Hicks has been racing off-road for 20 years, and in these conditions, experience is the most valuable currency. With navigator Rodney Cameron, Hicks' best Finke result was third outright in 2011, and he's looking to go even better this year.
This is a Jaws buggy. It runs a 6-litre V8 and it's got lots of suspension. It carries about nearly 200 litres of fuel and has a top speed of about 220. Yeah, so it's a good car. Blokes that are out the front will go really well. I think as far as we're concerned, we'll be just waiting, just trying to pick a few off and hopefully a few break down. But yeah, a lot of speed this weekend. Yeah, we came third outright in 2011 in a pro light. That was really good. So we're obviously always trying to get back up there, but there's a lot of good competitors, a lot of good cars, so we'll see what happens. We had a lot of misadventures in this car, but yeah, Mildura the other day it was really, really dusty and you couldn't get it near anyone to pass and the competitor stopped in the dust because he couldn't see and we couldn't see and hit him, and then the next car hit us, and so ended up doing a lot of damage to both cars, and the boys have only just put it back together now.
Pole sitter Jack Rhodes continued to lead outright, but rival Shannon Wrench was quickly gaining on him, and by the end of the first sector had closed the leaders' gap to under a minute. 2016 Dakar champion Toby Price is pulling double duties in this year's Finke race, also contesting the bike category. Starting from 18th place on day one of cars and buggies, Price was rocketing up the order in extreme two-wheel drive, putting in the quickest split of Sector 2. Heading into the third sector at Redinga, around the 100-kilometre mark, Pro Class's Michael Marson would get a taste of the Aussie Outback up close, swerving off the track to sample some local shrubbery. Back on track, Marson would again be dealt some bad luck, suffering engine issues, being forced to pull off the track and out of the race altogether.
First failure here, we were doing really well. About the 130k mark, we sort of dropped the cylinder and we weren't quite sure, so we jumped out and had a look at to see if it had dropped the plug lead off or not, and it hadn't, so we figured, we had to sort of just pull her up, and unfortunately, yeah.
Starting from 7th place, Aaron Havey was keen to continue his impressive consistency after taking second outright in round 1 of the Australian Off-Road Championship. However, the Finke would have other ideas for him, causing a tyre puncture just outside of Alice Creek and stealing valuable time from him. Haby's unlucky tyre puncture would cause the Element team to drop to 15th place and prove that to conquer this race, luck plays an integral part. Jack Rhodes continued to lead the pack, but still had Shannon Wrench snapping at his heels. Sitting third in Extreme Two-Wheel Drive and 8th outright, Greg Gartner was taking no prisoners, going toe-to-toe with the Finke and showing his Ford F-150 truck absolutely no mercy. Gartner's class compatriot, Ivan Robertson, on the other hand, wasn't sailing so smoothly, with engine issues forcing him off for mid-race repairs. Robertson's luck would go from bad to worse though, as once back on track, the Desert would take a serious bite out of the Mickelfab Chevy truck, sending Ivan face first into the dirt.
Danger. You right? Yeah, me now.
Passing through the final checkpoint with just 50 kilometres to go, the Finke would live up to its unforgivable reputation and take another 2 costly scalps. Proving again that luck plays a leading role, race leader and prologue winner Jack Rhodes would encounter mechanical issues, significantly affecting his speed. Second place sitter Shannon Wrench would fall victim to unspecified problems as well and fall behind. With luck and consistency on his side, third place sitter Glenn Owen would pounce and take the lead from Rhodes heading into the final stretch of day 1. Owen would hold on to take victory in day 1 and was now halfway to being crowned king. He held off a rampaging Bo Robinson, who after 226 kilometres was only 23 seconds behind and first home in Extreme Two-Wheel Drive. 15 kilometres out from Finke, Brad Gallard would strike a tree, shredding a tyre in the process. Bringing his trophy truck home on a rim, Gallard would just scrape in over the finish line in 4th outright.
Look, it was good. It was pretty clean. We got a bit of dust there for a while. I cleaned up a tree about 15 k's out, so hence that's where I got my panel and tyre damage from. But so it was driver error. But other than that, no, look, we had a pretty good run down here. It was clean and we're very successful, I think.
Proving his Ironman mettle, Toby Price bulldozed through the Pro and Extreme Two-Wheel Drive field, moving up 13 positions to finish 5th outright at Finke. Gardner would land in Finke behind Price, followed by reigning king Shannon Wrench, Travis Robinson, pacesetter Jack Rhodes, and Carl Havey rounding out the top 10. Back in Pro Lights, James Lockett was gaining some serious momentum, moving into the top 3 in the class. However, his gains would be short-lived, with the Finke debutant suffering tie rod issues and losing all steering to the front left wheel, forcing an improvised repair job. Racing for only 3 years, this is his first attempt at the Finke, and it's a family affair, with his wife and 3 children all navigating at one time or another.
From what I've seen yesterday, the track's a lot different to what it was back then. I'm going to take a conservative approach, particularly on day 1. We want to make sure we get down the other end, and we want to get some points in the bag for the championship. So if we're going well there, we'll see how we go on the way back.
Going down, it's not as rough to start with, so the car's going to sit really well over the whoops, and as we're a bit lighter towards the end, which what the car is hopefully set up for, we should be able to hold a good speed the whole way there, hopefully.
I think because these two will have already been down and seen the track, having not been on it before, it will be good to go back. I suppose they'll have some idea, or James will have some idea of where he's been and what he's got to approach on the way back, so hopefully it will go really well.
Starting first in production four-wheel drive, veteran Jeff Pickering was tackling his 13th consecutive Finke Desert Race, having taken class honours 12 straight times. The 10-time class champion would lead Amy Chapman to the red centre, chasing his 13th Finke victory. Passing Pickering on track, Performance Two-Wheel Drive's Paul Newman was looking for a better result at Finke after an unlucky showing in round 1 of the championship. But today wouldn't be his day, as an electrical issue would force him off, leaving the Toyota Hilux to limp all the way to the finish line.
I just think Finke doesn't like me this race. It's the only one we haven't won in our class, and we had a battery fail on us on the way down, and then our jump pack ran flat. The jump started every time, so we couldn't have any fan coolers on, we couldn't have intercom, we had no helmet blower. So every time we turned the fan cooler on, because the tranny was overheating, it had stopped the engine, and we had a terrible rundown. And from the second half, the first half we went well. We caught Dan in the Murray River Autos. Car got past him, and then our trouble started, so we were looking good for our class, and unfortunately that's the way this race goes.
After an impressive prologue that saw him rocket into 11th overall, Extreme 4-Wheel Drive's Clayton Chapman was in the hunt for a successful Finke campaign.
Caution R4, stay tight, watch the book. 4, stay slow. Into L3. Thank you. Into L3 again. R5. Straight over crest. Straight over crest. Into L5. Into R5. Watch mud. Don't cut. Don't cut the right. Don't cut the right. Awesome. L5. R5. 200. Keep left jump into L3. Whoops. Into L3. Whoops.
cruel mistress at best, and Chapman would suffer her wrath. 75 kilometres in, a front suspension bolt broke, as well as the turbo exhaust dump. With the chance of a fire breaking out, Chapman would have no choice but to end his campaign. Overall, 83 out of 112 starters would survive day one of the Tatts Finke Desert Race, with 29 falling victim to the merciless Australian Outback.
We had some dramas basically straight off the line. We damaged some shocks on the right hand side on the rear, and so it was a fairly wild ride down. It was like driving an old HQ, I think.
The run down was great. You know, we left Alice Springs in 26th position. Early in the piece we started to knock off a few cars. The dust level was fairly low, so we could actually get behind cars and get them fairly quick. We had a hassle-free run, a few hairy moments here and there down the track, and I think we got here in Finke in 12th position.
I think it's about the 140k mark. We must have bloody hit a stump or something in the weeds there and got a flat tyre. So yeah, we pulled over there for about 5 minutes to change the tyre, and then we got back on the track again. So yeah, just a bit unfortunate, but that's how it goes.
Run down was really good this year. Track conditions were awesome. There was nowhere near as much dust and a little bit moist. But yeah, it was pretty hard on the driveline on the Polaris with it being so sandy. Done a drive belt, probably about 85 Ks. So a few minutes to change that, but no, back underway and really happy with how we went. We probably could have pushed a lot harder, but the idea was to get down here and have everything still intact for tomorrow, and probably push harder in the second half tomorrow to try to make up a bit of time. But yeah, it's a long way still, so yeah, no point pushing too hard and not making it here.
Good run down. Found it very hard. A lot of the conditions were quite soft, so the car was working hard all the way. But overall, a really good run. Getting back and making it number 13 would be really great, yeah.
We took off in 23rd. We got out of control a few times on the way down, but no, we survived. We went through one bloke's camp, scattered them everywhere, but I think we got down about 15th, so it wasn't too bad. I suppose just over 2 hours, so we were half happy with that.
The track, we on a good form today, and then it changed very quickly, so hopefully it can turn the other way and we have a bit more luck going home, and can try and make up a, if all the stars and moons align, we can maybe make a podium, but yeah, it's a long shot from here.
Glenn Owen leads the way outright in Pro class, with Robinson and Burrows rounding out the podium. Extreme two-wheel drive sees Bo Robinson on top. Pro Light Buggy is led by Sam Barnes, while Super 1650 Buggy has Craig Predijon on the top step. Darren Vanderwood leads Performance two-wheel drive into day 2, and Jeff Pickering tops the production four-wheel drive standings. Extreme four-wheel drive sees Kent Battle on top, and in the Superlights, Peter Carr holds the number 1 position in the naturally aspirated category, with Toby Waitley taking the honours in the turbo category. After a gruelling and vicious race to Finke on day 1, the teams will regroup and prepare for the final stretch tomorrow. Despite being competitors on the track, their true nature is revealed off it, with friendship the defining features of the Australian Off-Road Championship.
Sunday night down here in Finke, we're sitting around a campfire right on the very edge of the Simpson Desert. Two very influential men in Australian motorsport, and particularly off-road racing, Brad Gallard and Toby Price. Brad Gallard, huge logistical effort to get all this here. Just talk us through what it's taken to get you guys to this point and get us here on Sunday night in Finke.
It is. I mean, obviously we're running 2 trucks this weekend, and Toby's in one and I'm in the other. So, look, it's about 20 guys that we've got this weekend, 20 people, and there's right from truck drivers to pit crews to logistics guys to everything it is. And I mean, we're running a semi and 4 vehicles chasing around, 2 trailers. And to get it all down to this end, it's a 5-hour journey around this side, and then next thing there's charter planes and there's helicopters chasing, and obviously because Toby's doing the double run. So logistically, it's the biggest logistics in Australia. So
Toby, obviously a lifelong love affair with bikes, but right now trucks, they're the greatest love of your life, aren't they?
Yeah, at the moment it's going really good. The first time I came out here at the Finke Desert Race was in 2010, and I got to see these trucks and the buggies go through all these whoops, and kind of kick-started from there. And then I got a bit of a chance to race the SSTs at the Clipsal 500 V8 Supercar event, and ever since I got in those little ones and progressed from there, it's been amazing. It's unreal that Brad's trusted me to jump in his spare geyser and have a crack at this and see if we can take on the Ironman double at Finke here.
We obviously know Toby's supremely talented on a bike, but what does it take to get to the point where, Toby's performance today was outstanding, and it's pretty hard to explain that to the average person, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, Toby's times on the bike are obviously very similar to what we can do in the trophy trucks. So he knows the pace that he's got to run at, and that's all he knows. He just knows to be at that 100% fast pace, and that that's obviously outstanding to watch to see him come from 19th on the road to finish in 5th position and go through the cars that he did. And obviously the track knowledge has certainly been amazing and pushing through in that truck, but. The trucks will obviously work for him. He only got a short time in the thing, 5 minutes in the thing before it all went wrong on Friday. So to be able to jump in and do that's an outstanding, absolutely outstanding achievement.
How does it go for you, Brad, sitting here? And obviously Toby's no clown. We know that he's a very experienced athlete, winning a Dakar, and we know he's won a bunch of Finks and that sort of stuff. You're putting a lot of faith in someone when you put them in essentially what is one of your babies, isn't it? You put someone in your geyser truck, it takes a significant amount of faith in their ability, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, obviously, Toby is very talented and whatnot, and we went out and tested, because there's another story. Obviously, the truck only landed, back from America, back from Geysers, having a refresh, the weekend before, and then it got stuck in customs for a few days. So it was pretty stressful times there for a little bit, and it only got here basically, on a Thursday night at midnight, and the boys, travelled all night and no sleep and got it through. So, look. But obviously sitting in with Toby, I understand that he's very quick and got up to speed in the car very quick, and we tested in my turbo truck, so that was it was pretty actually awesome to see how quick he got up to speed in the thing.
You've been through some pretty tough times, Tobes. Obviously the broken neck at Baja a few years ago and that sort of thing. Do you ever stop and pinch yourself and just go, get a look at this life, look at the life that I get to lead, look at what I've created for myself?
100%. In the last 3 years, definitely. To come back from my broken neck and then to being basically that close to not racing and not walking again. We've climbed back on a bike, and a year later, we finished on the podium at Dakar, and then 2 years later, and we won a Dakar. So it's just blown me away how quick things have turned around and changed and gone the right way. And then on top of that, we've also got to drive some SSTs, and now I'm in one of the best built trucks you can get, and it's these are the lounge chairs of racing pretty much, and it's for sure I've got to pinch myself every morning to wake up and think, is this really happening for me at the moment and going this way? And it's I don't know, hopefully we can just open some doors for later on when I get to being close to that walking frame. I hopefully be able to climb in trucks more.
1-2 Brad Gallard, Toby Price, or 2-1 Toby Price, Brad Gallard?
Whichever way, I guess we'll fight that out tomorrow, and there might be some panel swapping, I guess, coming into the stadium, who knows. So.
That's obviously the goal, though. That would be a major achievement, wouldn't it?
Yeah, obviously in off-road, to put a, two trucks. Obviously Greg Gartner was the first truck to win in 2011, and then I won in 2012 in a truck, but the buggies have got on top of us in the car class in the last few years, so to put a couple of trucks right up there in the front would be an awesome result for us. So but we got tomorrow to do that.
That's fantastic. Brad Gallard, Toby Price, appreciate your time. Best of luck tomorrow.
Cheers, thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully 1-2.
Yep. Absolutely.
As the winter sun dawned on day 2 of the 41st Tatts Finke Desert Race, the competitors would regroup on the start line, ready for the final assault back to Alice Springs. 83 teams had survived the trek to Finke, and with 226 kilometres left to conquer, even less would make it back to Alice. With temperatures plummeting close to zero overnight, luxury wasn't an option, and the teams worked tirelessly under the stars to prepare the vehicles for the final leg today. Glenn Owen and navigator Matt Ryan took day one of the Desert Classic and would be first to begin the final stretch.
Yeah, feeling pretty comfortable. We've got a pretty fast bunch behind us, so we're going to have the pressure on all day to get back. But yeah, we're looking forward to it. Yeah, we've been here a few times trying. We came close in 95, got knocked off by 5 seconds. So yeah, we are fairly keen to try to get one.
Owen would have a 23-second head start in front of Bo Robinson, who came in second yesterday. The field would launch depending on the times they recorded on day one, with third place getter Mark Burrows starting only 3 seconds ahead of fourth place getter Brad Gallard. After putting in an epic showing on day one and climbing 13 positions, Toby Price would start 17 seconds after Gallard, with a podium finish firmly in his crosshairs. Greg Gartner went green in fifth, followed by Shannon Wrench, Travis Robinson, Jack Rhodes and Carl Havey rounding out the top 10 starters. Sector, the pro battle was on, with Aaron Havey in pursuit of Chris Weston. Havey and Weston were both behind the wheels of similarly built element buggies and were evenly matched. But at the 10-kilometre mark, Havey could only manage to catch Brent Martin as the race intensified. Meanwhile, in extreme two-wheel drive, Aaron's brother Carl was falling off the pace, with mechanical gremlins causing an engine misfire in the Geyser brothers' Chevy truck. After racing in Pro Class last year and coming second outright in the championship, Havey is trying his hand at extreme two-wheel drive and is still breaking in the 6-litre V8 trophy truck.
We came here with a new car that hasn't seen Fink, and to finish 5th last year was awesome for us. Behind my brother here, Aaron, which sort of was okay. Would have not been nicer to be in front of him, but yeah, we finished, and I'm very grateful to get. But look, heaps of people didn't finish, so we bought this Geyser Brother trophy truck off of Jeff Rowe, and We're still developing it at the moment. I think it'll do all right. Probably not quite as quick as my old car, but we should have some fun. Going from 8 to 10 k's an hour in a tractor to up to 200 kilometres an hour in one of these things, there is a bit of difference between the two, and hanging it out sideways is always good fun. The last 40 k's coming back into Alice Springs was really good. To me, that was the roughest, and the cars, like my car last year, seemed to handle it quite well. So we had a good run all the way down and all the way back, but the 40 was probably the closer you get to Alice, the happier you are. So you want to get over that finish line.
After limping home in 4th yesterday with a shredded tyre, it seemed Brad Gallard's luck had finally ran out. 40 kilometres in, the former King of the Desert would have a rear suspension link fail on a section of whoops, forcing him out of the race. Yet another major scalp in the Finke's Hall of Pain. Gallard was back in the hunt today, chasing down 3rd place starter Mark Burrows. But the desert wasn't done with Gallard just yet. 40 kilometres in, the former King of the Desert would have a rear suspension link fail on a section of whoops, forcing him out of the race. By the end of Sector 2, frontrunner Glenn Owen had increased his already formidable lead to almost 30 seconds. And by Sector 3 at Redinga, his lead had widened to well over a minute. His first King of the Desert crown now in sight. Still in 2nd place, Bo Robinson was falling behind significantly, dropping almost a minute to Owen, exposing his position to attackers. Starting 12th on day 2, Extreme 2-wheel drive Steven Sanderson was continuing his faultless 2016 campaign, gaining valuable time through each checkpoint. And Alice Springs local, Sanderson took the class crown last year in Extreme 2-wheel drive and backed it up by winning round 1 of the 2016 championship in Mildura. This year he's hoping to add another accolade to his mantle, King of the Desert.
So this is an American-built Jimco trophy truck. We bought it back in 2014. It's a full-scale trophy truck, what they race back in the States. We've got a Croyo racing engine, it's a 6-litre, about 740 horsepower. We've a 6-speed Albans gearbox. A bit different to everyone else, we actually run a paddle shift system on this as well. So there is no gear lever, it's just all done by a paddle shift on the steering wheel. We run the 39-inch BF Goodrich, so they love to tear up the dirt and everything else. So it is a weapon, it goes fast, it takes the bumps, and yeah, we're excited to see how it goes this Finke. Everyone talks about Finke being that race that, you know, it only takes like a 10-cent part to destroy your dreams. Like last year with Jack Rose getting a flat tyre after leading the race there and halfway back. It's a little thing like that, so you need a lot of good luck. And then also this year the benefit is we've had a lot of rain, so you know, there's not going to be as much dust. So everyone further back in the piece is going to have a good chance to do a good run. You know, you're not going to be limited by dust. So I think this year is going to be full on, a lot of speed, and a lot of people are actually going pretty hard for it. We've been racing this race for a fair while now with our family, and you know, to do that would be just a great honour. And I think, you know, to get the trophy back into Alice Springs as well. It's been a while since a local competitor has won Finke. To be able to do that would be sensational. We'd be so happy.
With only 68 kilometres to go in the 41st Tatts Finke Desert Race, Glenn Owen was superbly maintaining his lead and looked unstoppable. real action was behind, however, with Bo Robinson under a relentless attack from Toby Price for second position. Price's trophy truck was only firing on 7 cylinders and had also dropped third gear, but that couldn't stop the 2016 Dakar champions' resolve, violently pushing ahead and vowing to take absolutely no prisoners. Securing second place outright after a monster showing, Price would have to nurse the extreme two-wheel drive truck back to Alice. But he proved once and for all that whether it's on 2 wheels or 4, he's an international force to be reckoned with. In the end though, there can only be one, and like his race on day 1, Glenn Owen once again proved that consistency, concentration and a bit of luck all contribute to a winning formula. Having battled the Finke 6 times already over a 20-year period, 2016 would finally be his crowning achievement. With navigator Matt Ryan, Owen took his maiden King of the Desert title, 6 minutes ahead of his closest competitor and cementing his name in history. Having led the field into Finke yesterday, Owen began leg 2 on pole and would not relinquish his lead for a single moment of the 226-kilometre return journey. With a total race time of 3 hours and 37 minutes, Owen had faced the Finke and the desert had crowned him king. Despite engine issues forcing him to back off the throttle, Toby Price would show that fear has no face, catapulting from 19th at yesterday's start to second step on the outright podium. Price would also be first in extreme two-wheel drive, his efforts even more staggering given his double duties on the bike as well. The top 10 also saw Greg Gartner home in 4th, former champ Hayden Bentley in 6th, Stephen Sanderson in 7th, with Aaron Habe and Jack Rhodes completing the 10th. Toby Price took out extreme two-wheel drive honours in Pro Light Buggy. Sam Barnes conquered the Finke. Super 1650 Buggy saw Craig Pretijohn maintain his day 1 lead to take the Desert Crown. Darren Vanderwood also held on to first place after day 1. Jeff Pickering would suffer his first DNF, opening the door for Amy Chapman to take a hard-fought maiden win. In extreme four-wheel drive, Kent Battle would make it 2 from 2, and in the Superlights, Peter Carr would run away with the win in the naturally aspirated category, while Phil Lovett would take the turbo category. Beginning with 112 starters, only 64 would get there and back and survive Australia's greatest desert race.
We knew we had a few trucks behind us and going through the whoops down the other end. We pushed as hard as we could through the whoops and we came out the other end, so fantastic. We had a great run today. The car was sensational car.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. We had a lot of work to do before we got into it, but no, that was sweet. That was some of the coolest stuff we could ever do. Yeah, I think we always kind of knew he could do it. The truck just let him down a bit there on Friday, and no, once he got in it, we felt confident and yeah, knew he was going to be able to do what he wanted to do.
The points after round 2 of the Australian Off-Road Championship sees Aaron Habe on top of the standings, while Glenn Owen's victory here at Finke has pushed him up into second. Jack Rhodes, Travis Robinson and Stephen Sanderson round out the top 5, heading into the final round of the championship at Waikerie in South Australia. With Glenn Owen crowned king and the champagne flowing, that brings to a close the cars and buggy section of the 41st Tatts Finke Desert Race. But the Finke doesn't end there, with all the action from the bikes and quads on next week's show.
Coming up after the break, we head up to Springmount Raceway in far north Queensland as the locals get ready to be thrilled by the sights and sounds of the Aeroflow Outlaw Nitro Bunny cars.